Hey guys, hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Kshitij, aka the Rustic Wanderer. Today's video is going to be my first ever baking video on this channel, and today we're going to be baking garlic strips, which you can find in most of the pizza restaurants. So let's get started. So some of the big brand name pizza houses such as Pizza Hut or Domino's offer different types of garlic breadsticks. Some come as plain garlic breadsticks, some have a cheese filling inside, some have some other kind of fillings inside like sweet corn as well. Today we are going to be making just the plain simple garlic breadsticks in the oven at home. So let's see what kind of ingredients we need for this. So first and foremost, we are going to be taking all-purpose refined flour, or as we call it, maida in Hindi. This is something you can find even at your local supermarket in the baking section, as it is the most commonly used flour for baking bread of different types at home. As this is the gingerbread sticks, we would also need ginger paste or ginger powder. I prefer using a mix of ginger garlic paste because I also like to have a flavor of ginger in there. Next, we are gonna need a dry yeast as a fermenting agent. It is very important to have the dough ferment and rise up before you start making the garlic breadsticks, because that is what helps make the garlic bread soft and easy to bite. As an optional ingredient, you can also add milk and 1 to 2 eggs. For today, I'm just gonna add milk, so it is gonna be an eggless version of garlic breadsticks. So let's start preparing the breadstick dough. So first, let's take about 4 spoonfuls of the refined flour in this mixing bowl. Next, we are gonna activate our dry yeast. For this, we're going to open the pack. It has about 7 grams of dry yeast inside. We're going to put that in a bowl, add lukewarm water, just a few tablespoons, and add sugar so that the yeast can eat the sugar and get activated. So let's do that. So we will set the yeast aside to get activated, and we'll start seeing a bit of froth when it's ready. In the meantime, we'll start preparing the dough by adding some milk and some salt, and keep some extra space for adding in this yeast mixture when we're preparing the final dough. A quick tip before you start kneading refined all-purpose flour is to oil your hands with either olive oil or vegetable oil. This prevents the flour from sticking all over your hands and makes it a bit easier to knead a smooth dough. So after kneading for about 5 to 10 minutes and constantly adding a few drops of olive oil as and when needed, we get ourselves a really smooth and soft dough. Now all that remains is to put some olive oil on the top and the bottom, basically roll the dough into a nice ball and layer it with some olive oil to make it non-sticky, and set it aside to let it rise. Now to do that, you could put the dough in some nice dry place. So to do that, I'm just going to put the dough, cover it with this simple cloth, and put that in the oven. The oven is not heated, so it's just gonna rest there for about 45 minutes and rise up. And then we start preparing the garlic breadsticks. Okay, and now we wait for 45 minutes.
A few moments later.
So our dough has been happily resting inside the microwave for about 45 minutes to an hour. So it's time to see if the dough has risen. So let's check the status. So as you can see, the dough has risen quite nicely and has almost doubled or tripled in its size. So now it's time to puncture the dough and bench it for another 10 minutes or so, and then we start the baking procedure. So we have punctured the dough, kneaded it for another 1 or 2 minutes or so, and laid it with a little bit more olive oil. Now we're just going to put this aside for about 10 to 15 minutes for the process of benching. In the meantime, we'll start preparing our baking dish. So we've taken the baking dish and put some baking paper on top so that we can put the dough. As a lubricative agent, I have sprinkled some olive oil. If you have a brush, you can spread it around with the brush. If you don't, I just use my hand. Before we transfer the dough on the baking dish, what I'm going to use is semolina, which is this thing, which we also call suji in Hindi. Essentially, these are coarse middlings obtained from wheat when they are being crushed. So we're going to sprinkle it on the baking paper first, and then we're going to transfer the dough. So our baking tray is nicely layered with semolina and olive oil. It's time to transfer our dough onto the baking tray. In order to give the dough its desired shape, you could either use a rolling pin to roll it out into a circle and then fold it into half. Since I don't have a rolling pin, I'm just going to do it by hand. So let's give it shape and put that in the oven. While we're giving the dough its shape for the garlic bread strips, we will also start to preheat the oven at 180 degrees for about 5 minutes or so while we prepare the dough. So now that we have given the dough its desired shape, before we put this into the oven, we're going to do two things. One is we're going to use a knife and put slits all along this dough so that not only does it cook inside out properly, but that's essentially why it is called the garlic strips. Also on the top, we're going to sprinkle some herbs like oregano and rosemary. So let's do that. To give it nice colors, I've not only added the herbs, oregano and rosemary, but I've also sprinkled a bit of paprika powder, so now it looks a bit more colorful. I've also slit it up, and now it's time to throw it in the preheated oven.
A few moments later.
So there we have it, fresh homemade garlic bread strips, nice warm and crispy and soft to chew at the same time. So let's take it out of the warm baking dish, put that on the wooden board here. Ready to be served with any dressing of your choice. Here I have a bit spicy chili sauce that goes well with chicken wings as well. Some paprika sauce, some onion garlic dressing, or you can pair it with your good old ketchup or mustard sauce of your choice. So this was it, guys, a very simple and homemade recipe for garlic bread strips. So next time you're craving for them, you can easily make it at home with very minimal ingredients. It's at the time when we are folding the dough over, typically is when you add fillings. For example, if you want to add cheese, some bell pepper, sweet corn, or anything else that you want to stuff inside. So normally you layer that when you flatten the dough and then you fold it into halves before putting it into the oven. If you try this recipe at home, do let me know how you prefer your garlic bread strips. Do you like it with stuffings or without? And what is your preferred dressing of choice? Do try to bake it at home at some point. And do tag me when you do so and share it on social media such as Instagram, Twitter or Facebook. Do let me know how it turned out if you tried it, and please like, share and subscribe to my channel for more such videos. This is Rustic Wanderer signing off. Take care.